Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'll talk about some international news. First topic I'll get quickly over with that is the Wagner coup. There was a coup in Russia. Everyone's heard of it. Everyone's talked about it and now I'm talking about it. It was initiated by Chief of PMC Wagner Yevgeny Prigozhin. So there are many theories about this one, okay? These are variations and mixtures of real coup versus Russian false flag psyop. Prigozhin working with President Putin versus him being unknowingly a useful idiot of Russian government. Prigozhin working on his own versus him being supported by Ukraine and NATO. Who can answer these questions? The question about Prigozhin's intent with this coup will be answered by how long he lives. if he if he lives for a long time, this was done in cooperation with the Russian government. But if he doesn't live for long, well, his intentions of coup were genuine and soon he'll just fall out of a window. Was the West supporting Prigozhin? Apparently, CIA knew about the coup and had informed about it to the Gang of 8 in American Congress. These are like upper Congress, higher authority levels. American Congress is the parliament. But realistically, only Seymour Hersh can answer whether CIA or NATO or USA or Ukraine was involved in this Russian coup. He has answered the question of the Nord Stream pipeline and he's exposed the various crimes in Vietnam War. The West and its supported media all over the world has been saying that President Putin has been weakened by the coup attempt. What this basically means is President Putin has gotten more powerful by this failed coup attempt. He has imposed martial law in response to this coup. The fact that no institutions or powerful individuals supported Prigozhin means President Putin's popularity amongst Russian population has only increased. Also, Prigozhin has been moved to Belarus after a deal was negotiated between Wagner and Russian government through Belarusian President Lukashenko. So on the day of the coup, he was 200 kilometers away from Moscow, the Russian capital. After the deal, he is now 100 kilometers away from Kiev, the Ukrainian capital. And last time he complained about ammunition shortage, Wagner captured Bakhmut in like less than a week after that. So we have to wait and see what happens next instead of just making assumptions. These are all just theories. Whether he was working alone, whether he was working with President Putin, whether he was working with CIA and Ukraine and NATO. Did President Putin know about this? Did President Putin orchestrate this? Did President Putin just adapted quickly? We don't know. So, next story. PM Modi's Washington visit. PM Modi was in US for a state visit recently. PM Modi was in US for a state visit recently. Many tech sector deals were struck for semiconductors, minerals, fiber optics, telecommunications, quantum computing, AI, etc. Micron Technology will invest more than $800 million for a semiconductor assembly and test facility in India. Defense deals were struck, including transfer of technologies. Examples highlighted were GE F414 fighter jet engine, I think it is, and GAMQ-9Bs. These are drones, Predator drones. A fighter jet definitely is a good deal. I think I've heard somewhere recently that Russian fighter jets can fly about 200 hours or something like that before they need maintenance or engine replacement. Whereas American will fly somewhere between 1200 to 2000 hours. Yeah, American engines are probably the best ones. But about the drones, of course, they know better than I do. But in recent times, I haven't heard anyone praising American drones. I'm a little illiterate when it comes to defense weapons technology. I'm just trying to take this with a grain of salt. But last time I heard about American drones is how ineffective they were. President Obama, the former President Obama, was famous as the drone striker in chief, and the civilians that were targeted unintentionally by his military actions, I guess you can say. How can I put this? Let's just put it this way. This is the definite statement. 90% of US drone casualties in recent years were civilians. This is the statement that I've heard. I don't know about this drones, man. I don't know. Maybe they're actually good. But in this Ukraine war, we have also heard about Iranian drones, Turkish drones. I don't think Turkey is going to give us their drones. But what about Iran? Maybe you don't want defense cooperation with Iran because of fear of Israel and United States. So I don't know about these drones. I don't know how good they are. But the American drones were mentioned quite a lot when it comes to Obama's drone strikes and how 90% of casualties of those drone strikes were civilians. Ugh. Other things highlighted were clean energy, transportation, counter narcotics, Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative. Just remember, USA does not want India to get stronger and become another China. But it also does not want India to be too weak that US has to confront China on its own. Yes, United States is not a friend of India. They're just saying this stuff. Look at all the NGOs that have funded in recent times. Basically since 70s, 80s, and just accelerated in 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So United States is not India's friend. This is just obvious. We could have been friends, but that's just United States' geopolitical strategy. It does not want friends. It wants puppets. Next story. Pakistan's IMF $3 billion bailout. Pakistan secured $3 billion short-term financial package from IMF. Without this bailout, Pakistan would have defaulted in about a month. PM Shehbaz Sharif said that it would put Pakistan on path of sustainable economic growth. It was reached only after Sharif held marathon meetings with IMF head Kristalina Georgieva on June 22. Here's the reason why Pakistan exists. US and China use Pakistan against India. US has had this geopolitical strategy of interfering in other countries' sphere of influence. So that's using Ukraine, Georgia, Eastern Europe, and basically entire Europe against Russia, using Japan, South Korea, Philippines against China. This is a more evolved and refined version of colonial British strategy of divide and conquer. Of course, Russia, then called USSR, also used this strategy against United States with Cuba. That's why US was terrified, and it was called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Its own strategy was used against it by USSR. Now China also uses this military strategy, but only economically instead of economic and military like United States. That's China increasing its influence in Latin America and Europe against United States. That's China increasing its influence in Central Asia against Russia. Yes. That's China increasing its influence in Indian subcontinent, in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal and Myanmar. Pakistan is just a puppet state, and unlike say Japan, Pakistan has failed as a nation state. So the question is, when will Pakistan collapse completely? The question is, what will India, China, Afghanistan and Iran do when, not if, but when Pakistan collapses? What happens to its nuclear weapons? All these bailouts are just prolonging the inevitable. Because of US and Chinese geopolitical strategy, Pakistan survives. That's the truth about Pakistan. It's only there to cause trouble for India, that's interfering in other countries' sphere of influence while trying to secure your own sphere of influence. US has secured its own sphere of influence and it interferes with other countries' sphere of influence. China has not secured its own sphere of influence, but it also interferes with other countries' spheres of influence. And that's why Pakistan exists. Just to attack India. Just to harm India. And sooner or later Pakistan will fail. The only big worry is what happens to its nuclear weapons. And also refugees. A lot of refugees. That's going to be a problem. Many of them will come to India. Many of them will try to go to China. I don't think they're going to try and go to Afghanistan. They'll probably come to India. Ugh. I hope we have secure borders, which we don't. I hope we secure our borders. So, next story. US Supreme Court invalidates affirmative action. On Thursday, the US Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in college admissions. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it, wrote Chief Justice John Roberts. US President Biden said he disagrees with the decision and asked the Education Department to explore new ways to improve diversity in college campuses. Meanwhile, according to a Reuters poll, 62% Americans oppose race-based college admissions. Of course, this is a good decision. I wonder why many people who believe in racial equality think that people of some races need to be elevated. By indulging in this hypocrisy, they are implying that some races are smarter than others and others need to be elevated. It's not about race but culture and family upbringing. Asians who are selected in these colleges also come from difficult backgrounds, yet they are actively discriminated against. This does raise questions about Indian reservation system. If you want equality and end caste discrimination, you cannot apply loose standards to one caste and strict to another. What has happened in the long term is the opposite of intended goal of caste equality. Because upper castes are required to be more competitive, they end up achieving more. It's just like socialism. If we distribute wealth, then we'll all enjoy high standards of living, right? Well, socialism in practice ends up making everyone poorer than capitalist systems. Same with the reservation system. It ends up helping upper castes more in the long term. Indian education needs two massive reforms. First, opening EWS to all castes and replacing all caste-based reservation with EWS, or abolishing the reservation system completely. Second, replacing all learning language media with one language media in entire country. What we have right now are all these different media. English medium, Hindi medium, other language media, and with English subject or maybe even Hindi subject. Replace all these media with just one language media, Sanskrit or English, and all the other language media can just be secondary language subjects. So instead of Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, Tamil, or any medium, it's Sanskrit or English. Only one of these two, hopefully Sanskrit. It's Sanskrit with Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, or Tamil, or any other secondary language subject depending on geographical location. This is one major problem of the Indian education system. If you look at other countries, of course, the English countries, they have their own English medium. They don't have any other language mediums. Of course, they're English speaking countries. And many people think that we need English to industrialize. No. Look at Germany, look at Japan, look at South Korea, look at China, and look at Russia or Brazil or all these major economies. How many of them are learning? How many of their populations are learning in English medium? No. They have their own mediums. They have their own they have their own media, and it's just one media across the entire nation. Just one. What we have here is this mindset that we need English to industrialize. Westernization and industrialization are completely two different things. What we need is industrialization, not westernization. And also, because of all these media, I keep saying mediums, I don't know why. Because of all these media, we end up creating a two-tier society, a two-tier system where English medium is given a higher preference for jobs and for prestige and for learning, but also because for jobs and for status or prestige. What we need is one language media. I'm getting way off track here. What we need is one language medium, and I think that will improve our education system massively. But we also need to end reservation system completely. It was, even when a reservation system was introduced in India, it was supposed to be short term, like 10 or 20 years. In United States, it was supposed to be 25 years. They've just ended it. But for India, we haven't ended it for what? 75 years? That's not good. That's not good at all. Next story. France is burning. And why probably Europe will too, unfortunately. So the French are protesting again. It's their hobby. They're known for protesting. The trigger point this time was killing of 17-year-old Nahel of Algerian descent. He was a delivery driver. He was shot by police in Nanterre because he was driving off during a traffic police check. In response, President Emmanuel Macron said that the killing was inexplicable and inexcusable. On Sunday, July 2, Nahel's grandmother told, "Don't break windows, buses, schools. We want things to calm down." She also told that while she resents the killer of her grandson, she does not blame the entire French police. She asserted that some protesters are using her grandson's death as an excuse to cause a ruckus. But the French police described the protests as civil war. French nationalists are coming out to protect themselves and their communities and are attacking rioters. French Antifa came out on the side of rioters and started attacking French nationalists. Okay, these protests have sparked a conversation on French, but also European demographics. Europeans, just like Americans, started importing immigrants and refugees to try to stabilize demographics by having younger working age people in their countries. But most people who are coming to Europe are as refugees are Muslims from South Asia, Middle East, and North Africa. Mostly people from Syria, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, but also from other parts of Africa. These people are also of fighting age. They're working age males mostly. These people are not assimilating in European culture, but they're rather creating their own areas, the segregated areas in European countries. This has also caused a rise in crime rates in Europe in recent years. The thing about multiculturalism is everyone has to believe in multiculturalism. While Europeans have become more secular and multicultural in recent decades, Muslims are still culturally conservative and monocultural. Europeans and all these new Europeans, old Europeans and new Europeans, they are in direct contrast when it comes to issues like rights of women, LGBT communities, free speech, freedom of religion, etc. These refugees are having families and slowly increasing their populations, but they are not assimilating. So with this, Europe is set up for a potential civil war in upcoming decades, if not years, as Europeans try to forcefully assimilate these immigrants and refugees, if not deport them, while these immigrants and refugees not only refuse to assimilate, but to try to convert Europeans into Islam. This will be a case study for future generations. Also, Europeans, they have proven themselves as American vassals with this Ukraine war. And NATO has existed for a long time, basically after Second World War. And Europeans were never known for their multiculturalism. They were just not. They tried to spread their own culture, in fact, just like Muslims are doing now, just like these new Europeans are doing now. Old Europeans tried to spread their culture all over the world. They're not multicultural people by design, I guess you can say. But you know who multicultural is? America. Americans have always been multicultural ever since the starting of the United States, or the founding of United States. Excuse me. Ever since founding of United States has been multicultural. They've had all kind of Europeans and Africans and Native Americans. Now, sure, they have historically treated Native Americans and Africans poorly. Africans were brought in as slaves. Native Americans were wiped out. But within the white population, within the European population, they mostly lived happily together in America, in United States. Whether they are British, whether they are Irish, whether they are Italian, whether they are German or Scottish or English and whatever else, Polish, Ukrainian, Austrians and Swiss and sometimes French, they have lived happily together in Americas at a time when Europeans were fighting amongst each other. So, who is introducing multiculturalism in Europe? Probably the Americans. Why they are doing that? Well, the most obvious reason is demographics. Europeans are getting old. They want young people to work so as to not destabilize their economies. But also, they are importing refugees and immigrants from areas of the world that are not known for assimilation or bending the knee. So Europeans are not getting Indians or East Asians, the good immigrants. They're getting Pakistanis, Syrians, um, all these war-torn areas, and most of the people that are coming there are fighting age males, working age males. Some women, children are also coming there, and old people, but most of them are fighting age, working age males that are coming to Europe. Why? Why? Well, we can speculate. Number one, because of war on terror has because the war on terror has destabilized the Arab world so much that the Europeans and the Americans don't want the disenfranchised. Why am I saying that? The disaffected populations of those war-torn countries to get together and start new jihad group, new terrorist group. So they are just packing them and sending them to Europe, hoping that they will assimilate into European culture because of all the nice infrastructure, nice amenities like taxpayer subsidized education, healthcare, etc. They're hoping they would assimilate, and this hope is now gone, and they have a disaster waiting for them. Another, they deliberately are putting all these immigrants and refugees into Europe to destabilize Europe. Remember, European population is roughly around American population. European economy is roughly the same as China in terms of size of the economy. Europeans also have started the process of de-dollarization with the euro in 1990s. Most people think the de-dollarization has begun in after the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, but the de-dollarization process was already started by Europeans in 1990s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Maybe they want to destabilize Europe, and they can do it easily by destabilizing Europe demographically. Maybe that's the plan of Americans, maybe. And this is not implausible, because if you look at Plaza Accords in 1980s and what that did to Japanese economy, how Japan had stopped growing after 1980s, after the Plaza Accords. Before the Plaza Accords, many people thought Japan would become the next superpower, and they're growing at a rapid pace. But after the Plaza Accords, their economy stopped growing. Maybe something similar is done to the Europeans. We all know that Americans are trying to destabilize Russia, China, and Iran, and also India too. So maybe they're also trying to destabilize Europe just to maintain their hegemony. This is American doctrine, and this is basically what was going to happen after the collapse of the Soviet Union. That once America became a hegemon, the goal shifted from defeating another superpower, the Soviet Union, to maintaining their own superpower and ensuring that no challenger emerges. This is called the Wolfowitz Doctrine. I think Wolfowitz Doctrine it's called in Americas. And maybe what's happening to Europe, maybe it's some geopolitical plan of United States. I can't tell. I don't have any evidence. I'm just speculating here. But why would they import monocultural conservative populations into a more secular and more multicultural society, other than destabilizing that population? And European leaders, they'll go along like sheep, because they have done so in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. No one has raised the question of Nord Stream pipeline in the United Nations, because why would they? No Europeans, I mean, because everyone knows who did blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, and Europeans are not rising up against that. The destruction of Nord Stream pipeline and stopping of Russian natural gas and oil through sanctions has only destroyed the European economy. This is dark stuff. What's happening to Europe? Sure, many of you may think Europeans were colonizers and all that. They did a lot of horrific things to the world. But the present day Europeans have nothing to do with their past. Now we'll move on to tech section. Pixel Fold screen issues. Google Pixel Fold was launched recently. It has an in-house Tensor G2 chip, 12GB RAM, up to 512GB storage, and 4821 mAh battery. I don't have access to this phone, but many reviewers don't like the battery of the Pixel Fold. What I like about the Pixel Fold is its aspect ratio. It looks like a passport or a small diary rather than Samsung Galaxy Fold's tall display. This is a vision first put forth by Microsoft with Surface Duo, but they did it with two separate displays instead of one foldable displays. Many apps are still not optimized for the foldables. They probably won't be until Apple launches iPhone Fold. That's not until Apple launches iPhone Fold. I don't think Android foldables are going to be a huge priority for developers. Also, it's not a Pixel product. If something doesn't go wrong, some people have already broke their foldable screens, as reported on Ars Technica and also on Reddit. This is a problem with all the Pixel products, except for maybe the Pixel 4a. Every Pixel has had some issues. Pixel 1 was slightly underpowered, but it was okay. Pixel 2 was also a bit underpowered. It also had some production issues with their display. Pixel 3 was really underpowered, and it also had that massive bathtub notch with the Pixel 3 Pro. I think it was called Pixel 3 Pro, but the large no. It was called Pixel 3 XL, right? XL was good term. I don't know why they abandoned it and switched to Pro. XL was something unique to Google. No, everyone uses Pro and Plus and all that. They should have stuck with XL. What else? Pixel 4 was underpowered. Pixel 5 underpowered. Pixel 6 had issues with the SoC and also was quite buggy with the software. Pixel 7, same thing. Not as bad as Pixel 6, but still somewhat bad. And now Pixel Fold has issues with the foldable screens. The A lineup has been good. I think there were some issues with 6A, but I think the A lineup, the affordable lineup, has generally been quite good. I wish there was an affordable foldable made by Samsung or Xiaomi with wide screen aspect ratio of Google Pixel Fold. I wouldn't touch a Pixel products because, like I've said, all of them have either manufacturing quality control issues or software bugs or just underpowered hardware. The last topic, this is something I discovered recently and I wanted to share it with you. This is called the dead internet theory. Let me open a an article about the dead internet theory. So this is a Wikipedia article. Dead internet theory is an online conspiracy theory that asserts that internet now consists almost entirely of bot activity and automatically generated content that is manipulated by algorithmic curation, marginalizing organic human activities. These intelligent bots are assumed to have been made in part to help manipulate algorithms and boost search results in order to ultimately manipulate consumers. Further, proponents of this theory accuse government agencies of using bots to manipulate public perception. The date for this death is generally around 2016-2017. This could be a real theory. I think about in about 2015 or 16, Microsoft had a chatbot that immediately went racist on Twitter. Um, this was a public chatbot. Now we have ChatGPT and Bard and Bing AI and all that. But chatbots have existed for a long time. These smart chatbots are recent invention. But what about dumb chatbots? What about hyper-focused manipulative chatbots? So you can create a chatbot to spread conspiracy theories. You can create a specific chatbot to promote a trash product. These specific chatbots have been around for a long time before ChatGPT and all these other smarter chatbots. So maybe these chatbots have been controlling and posting content on the internet for a long time. So another example given on YouTube, on Wikipedia, is Twitter. The percentage of user account ran by bots became a major issue during Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter. During this process, Musk disputed Twitter's claim that less than 5% of their monetizable daily active users were bots. During this dispute, Musk commissioned company Cybra to estimate what percentage of accounts were bots, with one study estimating 13.7% and other estimating 11%. These bot accounts are thought to be responsible for disproportionate amount of content generated. The incident has been pointed by believers in dead internet theory as evidence. YouTube. There is a market online for fake YouTube views to boost videos' credibility and reach broader audience. At one point, fake views were so prevalent that some engineers were concerned with YouTube's algorithm for detecting them would begin to treat fake views as default and start misclassifying real views as fake views. YouTube engineers termed the term invasion, the inversion, to describe this phenomena. YouTube bots and a fear of the inversion were cited as support for dead internet theory in the Agora Road's Macintosh Cafe thread. So we probably have dead internet. Most of the content generated online is probably by chatbots. Probably. When you read comments on YouTube videos, not on my videos, they're not there, almost not there, but on other YouTube videos, when you read Twitter threads and tweets, yeah, most of the content feels fake. And now we have deep fakes, and we have image generators, we have audio and video generators, podcast generators. World's about to get a lot more fake. The digital world is about to get a lot more fake. So what can you do? How can you identify real users from fake ones? I don't know. I just came across this theory, the dead internet theory, and I just thought it was interesting. So that's why I'm sharing it. But what do you guys think? Do you think the internet is dead? What do you guys think about multiculturalism in Europe and what is happening in France? What do you guys think about the Wagner coup in Russia? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed tuning in, if you enjoyed this episode, just share with people who you think might also enjoy this episode. Leave me any feedback in the comments, wherever you have comments. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon.